problem with that is now that you're vulnerable to American aerial supremacy, drone attacks. So you have no choice but to arm your shuttle fleet. And now what's going to happen is this conflict in the oceans between Russian shuttle fleet tankers that are trying to transport oil around the world and these American destroyers who are trying to capture or destroy these shuttle tankers. Now, the advantage that Russia has is that America doesn't have that much naval assets anymore. It used to, but not anymore. The other thing is that the world really needs energy. So you can imagine China financing the militarization of the Russian shuttle fleet.
Why would the US try and stop Russian boats?
Because in this global outlook, there are two nations that could provide weapons and resources to the rest of the world. They are Russia and they are America. So if America has become dominant, it needs to blockade Russia. And when you do that is by seizing their shuttle fleet.
But if that happened, that would be an act of war.
But it's already happening.
What, really?
Yes, it's already happening.
Where?
Iranian tankers have been seized by the Americans, and tankers are being seized in the Caribbean as well by the American Navy.
Whose tankers?
I believe they are Russian tankers.
Yes, the United States has indeed been seizing tankers linked to Russia. A major escalation occurred earlier this year on January the 7th, 2026, when the US military and Coast Guard intercepted two sanctioned Shadow Fleet oil tankers. While one was seized directly in the Caribbean, the other involved a dramatic chase that started in the Caribbean and ended in the North Atlantic. US forces captured this sanctioned tanker during a pre-dawn raid directly in the Caribbean Sea. The US military described it as stateless sanctioned dark fleet vessel, which was engaged in illicit activities. These seizures are part of Operation Southern Spear, a strict enforcement of the US embargo on Venezuelan oil exports. Both vessels were targeted for violating US sanctions by transporting illicit crude oil linked to Venezuela, as well as Iran and Hezbollah.
And as you point out, this is an act of war.
So those were ships that didn't have a country linked to them directly.
That's why they're called shuttle fleet tankers.
Okay.
Yes, but they're essentially Russian.
But they were essentially shipping oil outside of the United States that the United States wouldn't control. Is that kind of...
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
the US said, listen, this is our oil, get lost.
That is correct, yes. Right? So what the United States is doing, it's slowly expanding its global reach. And the way it's doing that is by signing treaties with nations that are part of these choke points. So the Strait of Malacca, recently the United States has signed a military cooperation agreement with Indonesia. And with the Strait of Gibraltar, the Americans have signed an agreement now with Morocco. Right? So they are looking for the legal framework, and justification to control the world's choke points, which would bring them directly in conflict with the Russian shuttle fleet.
So at some point, you think the way that the war starts is the US Navy attacks a Russian boat.
So I personally believe that this will be a drawn-out process, and there's no real concrete flashpoint, because not only are Russian shuttle fleet tankers being seized, but remember, Russian oil refineries are being destroyed by Ukrainian drones. And the Russians believe that it is NATO that is responsible for the sabotage.
So what do you think the catalyst moment is when this all kicks off?